name is Jenya Peterson, and currently I am in a beautiful city of Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. And I've been here for about 10 years now, actually a little bit more than that. And my journey started back in Central Asia. I was born in Tashkent, in a very sunny city, and spent part of my childhood there. And later on, my parents moved to Russia, and I grew up in Moscow, where I got my education, learned a lot about Russian traditions, reconnected with my heritage. And later on, I came to Atlanta and been here since. Now it's home for me.
So what do you do for a living?
Currently, I work for Imerys. It's a global mining company. Pretty much all my life in Atlanta, I've been with the company. My career started in finance, and I grew through the ranks, switched around in different businesses and whatnot. And later on, I started joining different functions to extend the business. And currently, I'm a project management officer, and I work with different functions with operations, supply chain, purchasing, to come up with some innovative projects to improve processes, have savings and whatnot.
How important is networking for you?
I would say networking is really very important as we move into the future, where it's all about collaboration, learning from each other, coming up with best practices. And it's best done when there is a solid network that you can turn to, ask a question on a problem that you're trying to solve, or talking about the trend and whatnot. So networking, in my opinion, is getting more and more important, especially that the workforce is getting rather distributed. It's not only people that are in your vicinity, in your area where you live, or in the area where you work. It's you're connecting with everybody globally.
What was your journey to get to the position you are now? So what kind of decision you took in terms of education?
I would say there are definitely several factors that contributed for me to be where I'm at in this point in my career. I always wanted to get to a general management role. And initially, when I was back in college in Moscow, going to Finance Academy, which is one of the best universities in Russia for anyone who would like to pursue a career in finance or international economic relations, I thought that would be a good stepping stone to jumpstart the career. And I was very lucky that I was able to have some. My starting roles were in large corporations such as KPMG, Procter and Gamble, Gillette at that time, and later on, I decided to pursue my MBA and move to United States to try a different way of working, a different way of studying, which turned out to be a great decision. It definitely, a different country had a different approach to both work and teaching. So that was really a good experience for me to have understanding of how different countries can do it. And later, I joined the company that I'm with, Imerys. Again, my career started in finance, and I was just growing through the ranks, trying to get as much exposure as I could to operations, to pure finance, to controlling, consolidations, working with teams globally. And later on, I realized that just having a finance was not enough for me to get to my goal of general management. So I embarked on the cross-functional training, and in my opinion, it was a rather big risk. I went first to shared services, which where I learned all the back office functions and how to streamline, how to automate. I learned about robotic process automation and spearheaded the projects implementing RPA, which was a very rewarding experience. And having that, I thought that I needed to keep going in terms of, again, cross-functional experience. So I went on to join the commercial team, and it was fantastic. There was such a different view on how business should be working. They all were about selling, talking to customers, a very innovative projects were developed working with our scientists and whatnot. coming up with business cases, how we can increase sales, have better margins and whatnot. Very dynamic group. I definitely learned a lot about negotiating with customers and building the pricing strategy and whatnot. Very, very different. And after that, I went into purchasing group, which was more about cost savings, spending less, finding ways to have the best product, but again, renegotiating all our rates and learning how to engage with vendors on different, discussing quality, the terms of the contract, payment terms, and whatnot. So it was a completely different environment, different atmosphere. And most recently, now my interests are in technology, as technology is really going to revamp all the business functions, most of the jobs.
How do you deal with change?
My whole life was about change. I has always been taking risks, and most often was rewarded for it. Of course, there were some, sad moments and whatnot, but mostly it was really rewarding to take risks and to adapt to change, because change is constant. There is nothing you can do to just, you can freeze something for a moment, but change is always happening. So I always was embracing it with open arms, trying to do the best I could with whatever circumstances I had at my hands, and just move forward.
So, what is your global experience?
I call myself a global citizen. On the one hand, I loved to travel personally before the pandemic, and I hope that the travel industry will be safe again in the near future. I did travel quite extensively in Europe and in Latin America, and I'm a big fan of exploring North America, which has so much to offer. And that's more on the personal side. On the business side, since Immerse, the company I work for currently, is a global company with businesses all over the world, I'm in frequent contact with people from different continents, different countries, definitely taking into considerations the impact of time zones and whatnot, of different cultures. And in business, still some people, depending on the country, can come late to the meeting, or some are prepared better than others. And I think some of it is attributed to their culture that they're coming from. So definitely, I'm being flexible in the style and my approaches to people, depending on where they are located, just to make sure that everything gets done in terms of what is needed to be delivered, discussed, and whatnot. So, of course, there is this corporate culture of doing business in a certain way, but different countries add their certain aspect to it, a little bit of a complexity to take into account.
Do you have a dream with a deadline?
A dream with a deadline that comes to mind to me is writing a book, and hopefully maybe writing a series of books. And that dream I had for quite some time. I started to work on it, and I do have a deadline of having it completed in the next kind of 3 to 5 years. The only thing that I'm really trying to work out now, what is the scope, what are the details. I have notes all over my house on what the book will be about, and again, hopefully it will extend into the series. But that's something that I'm very passionate and hope to see this project to completion.
Thank you. Thank you for being with me, and for giving me your time. And I hope to see you soon in person.
Thank you, Irena. The pleasure was mine, and I do hope to see you very soon.